Some are born under the banner of greatness. Others must claim it.
Shogun, the story of an English sailor who became a samurai, the TV series that inspired countless fans to explore Japanese history. Based on James Clavell's novel, it follows the adventures of John Blackthorne in Japan. John's character is actually inspired by the real story of William Adams, the first Englishman to reach Japan. A shipbuilder turned adventurer, William ultimately became the samurai known as Miura Anjin. But how can a foreigner become a samurai? It all started in 1564. William Adams was born in Gillingham, Kent, into a prosperous family and enjoyed a comfortable childhood. However, his life took a turn at age 12 when his father passed away. To support his family, Adams became an apprentice to shipyard master Nicholas Diggins, where he spent years mastering shipbuilding, ocean navigation, and astronomy. Though occasionally rebellious, he was a quick learner. In 1588, at 24, Adams joined Sir Francis Drake's fleet to defend England from the Spanish Armada, captaining a supply ship during the fierce conflict. By his 30s, he had become a seasoned sailor and sought wealth in the East. He and his brother Thomas joined a Dutch merchant fleet on a mission to challenge the dominance of Portugal and Spain. The fleet, armed with a stolen Portuguese sea chart, aimed to sail through the Magellan Strait, plunder Spanish and Portuguese colonies in South America, and trade for silver, ultimately returning with valuable spices from the East. Now keep in mind that at the time, pepper, cinnamon, and ginger were very valuable. In fact, they were often worth more than their weight in gold. In June 1598, Adams' fleet of 5 merchant warships departed from the Netherlands, heading south along Africa's west coast. A violent storm soon separated 2 ships from the fleet, which were never seen again. The remaining vessels crossed the Atlantic and navigated through the Magellan Strait. However, by the time they reached the Ecuadorian coast, a 3rd ship had been lost, leaving only 2, the Hoop and Liefde, with Adams commanding the latter. Trade in the New World went disastrously as the crew antagonized the locals, leading to an attack that claimed 20 lives, including Adams's brother, Thomas. The survivors retreated to their ships. Though devastated by his brother's death, Adams remained determined. Seeing no future in the New World, he persuaded his Dutch companions to sail westward to Japan, beginning a perilous Pacific crossing. Their journey was fraught with danger, and at one point, they likely landed on the Hawaiian Islands, where 8 sailors deserted and were reportedly eaten by the natives. I think it's safe to say that Hawaii wasn't quite the tourist destination in the 1500s. The rest of the crew pressed on. In February, a typhoon sank the Hoop, killing everyone on board. The crew of the Liefde, weakened by scurvy and exhaustion, faced further despair when one sailor, driven mad by the ordeal, attempted to ignite the ship's powder supply. Adams managed to stop him, reprimanding the crew for their defeatist attitude.
This is not where we die.
After a grueling 2-year journey, the Liefde finally arrived in eastern Kyushu, southern Japan, in April 1600. Of the original 5 ships and over 500 crew, only 1 ship and 23 men survived. Among those who could still stand was William Adams, making him the first Englishman to reach Japan at a significant cost of life and spirit. Well, with 477 lives lost, we can't really call the mission a success. At the time, Japan was in a tenuous peace. Toyotomi Hideyoshi had unified the country in 1587 but, being lowborn, could not become shogun, so he ruled as the imperial regent, Kwampaku. After Hideyoshi's death in 1598, his young son was named heir, with a council of 5 powerful daimyos governing until he came of age. However, distrust and ambition among them, particularly from Tokugawa Ieyasu, the strongest daimyo, threatened to plunge Japan back into war. Meanwhile, the Portuguese had long been trading in Japan through their port in Nagasaki, where they acted as intermediaries in the silk trade between Japan and China. The Jesuits, or Society of Jesus, accompanied them, spreading Catholicism. We can imagine how they were doing it.
Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord?
Japan's lords tolerated this foreign influence due to Portugal's importance in the trade, but Adams' arrival would soon disrupt this dynamic.
This isn't the end for me. I won't die in this wretched land.
William Adams and his 9 crew members first landed in a village named Bungo, where the locals generously offered them food and sake. Shortly after, the Lord of Bungo, a minor daimyo, arrived with an interpreter, a Jesuit priest, who was shocked to find his English and Dutch adversaries on Japanese soil. The priest urged the daimyo to execute Adams for piracy, but Adams countered, leading to a confrontation that the daimyo swiftly quelled, resulting in Adams's detention. News quickly spread about the arrival of these strange barbarians with golden hair and blue eyes, unlike the familiar dark-haired Portuguese, whom they appeared to disdain. This reached Tokugawa Ieyasu, called Yoshi Toranaga in Shogun, who recognized the foreigners' potential and requested their presence. Adams and his crew were then escorted along the Japanese coast to Osaka's harbour. The Englishmen were awestruck by the city's grandeur, which far surpassed any they had seen in Europe. Upon their arrival, they were confined in Osaka Castle to keep them secure from Ieyasu's rivals, who might attempt to extract valuable information from them.
And then ask yourself, what kind of man wields power in a land like this?
In May 1600, William Adams had a pivotal encounter with Tokugawa Ieyasu that transformed his life. Using a Portuguese interpreter, the daimyo rigorously questioned Adams about the wider world. Adams informed Ieyasu about England and its conflicts with Portugal and Spain. When discussing religion, he identified himself as a follower of God. William revealed to Ieyasu the existence of Protestantism and the dissent against the Pope, which the Jesuits had presented as the sole Christian authority. Between May and August 1600, Adams met Ieyasu multiple times, showcasing his expertise in mathematics, navigation, and shipbuilding. Each interaction led Ieyasu to see Adams as crucial for dismantling the Portuguese trade monopoly in Japan and reducing Christianity's influence. So in the eyes of Tokugawa, William was the chosen one.
He is the one.
2 months later, tensions with rival factions escalated into the Battle of Sekigahara,
It is war.
where Ieyasu decisively defeated Ishida Mitsunari. European accounts suggest that Ieyasu utilized muskets and bronze cannons from the Liefde to overcome his enemies. This victory eliminated the last support for the Kwampaku's heir, solidifying the Tokugawa clan's power as Ieyasu claimed the title of Shogun, a position that would endure through his lineage for 250 years.
War was a way of life. Death before dishonor. The essence of what it means to be a samurai.
Now that Tokugawa Ieyasu had become the Shogun of Japan, he focused on William Adams. Although Adams longed to return to England to be with his wife and child, Ieyasu refused to let him go, recognizing his immense value. To secure Adams's loyalty, the shogun granted him the title of samurai and elevated him to the rank of hatamoto, a prestigious bannerman. He received 2 ceremonial katanas, 80 loyal servants, and a fief in the Miura Peninsula, reportedly covering 100 farms. So William wanted to leave Japan to be with his family, but instead got a mansion and a fortune. Now that's suffering from success.
Please tell him I am ready for whatever our fate may bring.
Adams proved his worth by assisting in the construction of Japan's first Western-style warships, an 80-pounder and a 120-pounder, from 1604 onward. He became Ieyasu's chief advisor on Western matters, taking over the role of interpreter from the Jesuit priests. The Japanese came to know him as Miura Anjin, meaning the pilot from Miura. To ensure he wouldn't leave, Ieyasu declared, "William Adams is dead. The samurai Miura Anjin is born." Thus, Adams began a new chapter in his life, marrying a Japanese woman named Oyuki and starting a family with her. In 1609, Adams represented the Dutch East India Company to establish the first Dutch trading factory in Japan, effectively dismantling the Portuguese monopoly and reducing the shogun's reliance on them. Ieyasu favoured the Dutch because they kept trade and religion separate, unlike the Portuguese, who sought to convert the Japanese. By 1614, Ieyasu expelled all Portuguese Jesuits from Japan and mandated that Catholics renounce their faith, acting on Adams' advice and finally removing his adversaries from the country. Although Adams could not return to England, he made several trips while serving the Tokugawa, travelling up to 4 times to the East Indies to foster trade and report his findings directly to the shogun. Adams passed away in 1620, leaving behind families in both England and Japan who received portions of his wealth in his will. By 1633, Tokugawa Ieyasu's grandson, Ieyasu, had sealed Japan's borders to all foreigners, allowing only the Dutch to trade at Dejima, a situation influenced by Adams's previous contributions. Had Adams and his Dutch crew not arrived in Japan, the Portuguese trade monopoly might have persisted, potentially allowing Catholicism to expand further into Japanese society. This could have prevented the Tokugawa shogunate from closing its borders altogether. William Adams's journey from a young apprentice to a revered samurai is a testament to the power of resilience and adaptability. His remarkable life reshaped Japan's trade landscape, forever altering the course of history. Subscribe and hit the like button if you want to become a samurai. Thank you for watching.